Atlanta, where I'm in deserts, and all around me, a voice was singing. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I went walking that river highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me those golden valleys. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land.
But we took the time to come here today, and we'll spend our 3 minutes per person to speak about how important it is for Schenectady to be a sanctuary city. And there have been a number of articles in the Alt that have talked about what it means to be a sanctuary city, because there is no finite definition. But there are some things that I specifically 2 months ago did mention to the City Council, and they are as follows. That the Schenectady City government should, 1, state publicly that we reject the President's statements and characterization of immigrants, refugees, and Muslims as criminal and suspect.
As far as sexual victims of sexual crimes, I don't know if the speaker here has ever had experience with that. My family has, directly, very close to me. And also with over 40% of students coming out of high school today, hoping to be, thinking they're going to be stars. I'd like to, in recognition of SWAM's record, review in the October 12th, 2014. Slogs Horror Timeless. On Friday night, Richard O'Brien's Rocky Horror Show premiered at 427 Franklin Avenue. The audience yelled at the performers, waved glass sticks and threw up various objects. Oh, there was a moment on Friday night when the stunned crowd, at least those who were a certain age, who had never seen oral sex simulated graphically on stage before. However, and it goes on, it doesn't get any better. They also performed urination, which was built a lot of Rotten Tomatoes. His first appearance at the Co-Host Theater.
I'm going to need you to summarize this for us, please.
And so, the other thing.
Ms. Forrest,
the golf
thank
carts
you.
now have GPS on them. I think Mr. Birch's Street, being such a short street, businesses and residents, you ought to give them a GPS.
Thank you, Ms. Forrest.
And that we welcome and value them as part of our community. Number 2, state publicly and enforce through legislation and policy that our city law enforcement will not collaborate with federal immigration law enforcement to arrest or detain immigrants. To this point, I will quickly say that it's my understanding from a meeting that myself and some others had with Chief Clifford is that it's not the police department's practice to even question someone's immigration status, and that they have no intentions of doing the work of ICE because we don't have the manpower, and it's not a priority. So we would appreciate that to be public and to be in policy and legislation. To number 3, state publicly that should a registry of Muslims or immigrants of any kind be implemented by the federal government, that the city will refuse to comply. There should be no question on this. And then lastly, in a general statement that I think is also important, that the city of Schenectady must ensure protection and support for everyone, regardless of their zip code, race, religion, country of origin, or immigration status. We trust that in this time of hatred and threats, that Schenectady will do the right thing and protect and defend all of our communities to the best of your abilities.
Bellevue, again, I'm not going to harp on it. I'm against sanctuary city. Amen. Then, Mr. Porterfield asked me before the meeting, how the bridge is coming on Oak Street. I don't know. When two people contacted me after the papers were signed, Mr. Ricky and Mr. Mudabaran called me up and told me the papers were signed. Now, haven't heard much about it since. A woman in the back was passing papers out a little while ago and says, build bridges instead of walls. I said, why don't you get up and talk about the Oak Street Bridge? She says, oh, New York State needs a lot of infrastructure. I says, we need Oak Street Bridge built. I said, that's what we need. She said, have you signed up? How many of these people come down and know what's going on at these meetings except for one thing? I mean, I haven't heard anyone telling me that they care about my family, that the fire trucks, the ambulance, they're not going to get up to my section of Bellevue because Oak Street Bridge is closed. I haven't heard that. My family and my neighbors are in jeopardy. Guess what? It's 4 years this month. 4 years that Oak Street Bridge has been closed. Madam Chair, why don't you do something at your committee meeting, contact U.S. senators, U.S. congressmen, or your state and local officials, and come see what the heck they can do, because no one back there is doing anything for us, plus the city engineer. Haven't heard a thing.
Someone did ask me specifically, why is zip codes in there? And others have said, oh, well, wait, are we talking about race? I thought this was just about immigrants and refugees. It's all intertwined. It's all intersectional. The fact that the immigrants and refugees, again, I've said this before, immigrants and refugees that are being targeted by our government are people of color. That is a race issue. That is racism. That is oppression. And when we talk about zip codes, we're talking about the economic standing in many of our communities that are predominantly people of color. It is all completely connected.
Hello everyone, I'm Sean Vanella, and I just want to start by, I got a bunch of document stuff that I would like you guys to look regarding Mount Pleasant movement, a little bit about my background history, get back to me if you can. Second, I just want to talk about some new ideas because summer's coming. I want to mention about swimming pools. I see a stockade pool that's not working. I believe it hasn't been working in a while. It's not negative talk. Just progression towards see whether we can do something about it. I got some local sponsors, the same sponsors like Hannaford and Redwood Coffee. They also support, movements that are better for the community. Spoke with them. They just need an idea and a plan, so I thought I would mention the swimming pools. Maybe we can get the same sponsors that support the Bridge Church to maybe get these pools up and running. And I'm sure I already heard some feedback, but can't say it all that are positive in 2 minutes here. I support sanctuary cities. I've been learning a lot. I've been reviewing the videos, it's on YouTube, and I've been educated a lot. It's really changing my mind, and I think everybody has their own personal views on it, and they're all meaningful and wanted. Just want to let you know that there's about 18 cities in New York that are sponsoring sanctuary cities. You can look them up. And when you look up in New York City, they also got it in other states. So that's a lot of people, a lot of professionals that agree that we should be a sanctuary city. Professionals, those ones that make laws, not people that, scream and yell because they don't have any facts. And we pray for those people. And I pray for people with their different opinions because we do live in fear until we test, try, and taste. But Bethlehem, New York is another place near our hometown that just approved sanctuary cities. It's getting closer, so if we can get this approved, that's the least of them. What the problem is dealing with evil. And when you agree with sanctuary cities, you're saying yes against evil. I'm done in 50 seconds. Thank you.
And let us not forget that we are including faith and religion. That no individual should be judged or prosecuted based on their choice of faith, because this is supposed to be a country of freedom. Is everybody feeling free right now? Joy's taking no for it. She said, I'm free. You can't stop me from being free. Yes. And actually, that's what we're all saying, is that you will not stop us from being free. That's right. Because regardless of our race, our religion, our country of origin, we will all demand equality and justice for everyone. Yes. Dignity and respect for everyone. Equality and justice for everyone. Dignity and respect for everyone. Equality and justice for everyone. Dignity and respect for everyone. Equality and justice for everyone. Thank you.
All right, I was going to speak on corruption because I had my head cracked open October 3rd by the police over here, and they always put me back in the cell and the cameras never work, and then they talk about this girl that had her head split open, and they're just going to pay her, and she's going to sign an NDA, and then nobody's ever going to hear about it, and these cops will not get in trouble. But there are some good cops on this force. I'm starting to see them, emerge, but they're rookies, and how long will they last before they get turned out, all right? All right, so anyway, the sanctuary city thing, all you guys have your hearts in the right places, you know what I mean? But you do got to remember, there is a rule of law. And if we just allow sanctuary everywhere, come on, can we move them into your yards? And I'm not trying to say nothing, because I know a lot of real illegals that came here, and they're great people. You can't uproot people that have been here for 20 years with families. But you can stop people from coming here illegally, and they're welcome to come here legally. So let's stop all the rhetoric and the banter about, how cool we are because we're not letting people come here. Listen, you guys feed them, man. I'm sick and tired of this. Waving your signs around. Listen, it's so complicated. You need to go to school to start to be able to really ascertain this type of stuff. When you come here, you start grandstanding because you're watching CNN, MSNBC, or whatever it is. I'm telling you right now, this already is a sanctuary, city. So there's no need to fret about it. It already is. I've been in the courtrooms. Judge Sitnewski, he didn't hold anyone for ICE. He never does. They release them immediately, all right? And I'm telling you, they don't release me. And we're all supposed to be equal, all right? Yeah, I came here eventually, somebody along the line was an immigrant, in my family. But we need to, come here. And a lot of these people that are coming here, they're not assimilating. They don't like us. They don't like what we stand for, all right? Because religiously, they got some little mental block that stops them from really, really understanding and respecting liberty, all right? And that's a virtue. That's a cornerstone to what we are. And if you're not that, then you're against us. So I'm going to really start paying attention to all these crazy little liberals out there. And we really need to start compiling a book and keeping track of these people. They're freaking dangerous, man. I mean, they're voting, and I'm not even sure if this man right here has his green card. I'm not sure, and I'm sorry. I heard through the grapevine, and I'm not sure about it, but we don't even know if this man's even legit, and he's on the council, all right? And this is getting crazy. Now, let me tell you something. I'm going to go to college full time, and I will not even take the bar exam because I don't want that ball and chain on. And I'm telling you, this is getting crazy. This is getting crazy that I keep hearing people freaking out about Trump. All right, I don't like Trump either. He's a narcissist. But listen, that's one good thing going for him. Because the man is such a fucking narcissist. Pardon me, I'm sorry. He's such a narcissist that he's going to do a good job because he knows that the history books are immortal. He's going to want to ring through the annals of history. He's not going to do a bad job. That's why he's working day and night. And just let him do his thing. All right? I don't know about the wars or anything, but who cares about this sanctuary city thing? If you want to protect them, go move over there with them. And I'm telling you, if the cops want to arrest them, I'll start chasing them down and arresting them. And if you guys make anything legal, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to file a lawsuit for sedition.
I'm not going to wait for all of these people.
Mary, there's two people in front of you. I'll call your name when you're in order. Christina Shaikh. I'm so sorry.
Hey, what were you guys for the Indians? What were you for the Indians? the real neighbors, where were you for them?
Chrisanne Scheider.
He did not climb a wall. He did not run across a bridge. He did not ferry himself in a boat to dry land. He did it the right way. He was 18 years old. My aunt and cousins also came to America through Ellis Island. They did not thumb their noses at our laws. They did not steal somebody else's spot. They did not push their way to the front of the line. They waited their turns. My mother came to this country through my father's legal papers. He was already a U.S. citizen when they were married. My uncle and my friend's stories are poignant ones. My uncle was an Italian soldier. He was captured at the outset of the Second World War. He remained a prisoner of war for 11 years. Upon his release, my father and aunt began the arduous process of sending for their baby brother through the quota system that still exists today. My friend was a Hungarian Jew. His father and all members of his extended family were lost in the Holocaust. He and his mother waited 7 years to enter this country. His brother waited 9 years. He was a Holocaust survivor. I have visited the Holocaust Museum. I was a docent for the Holocaust exhibit when it was on display at Union College. To my knowledge, there is nothing in the history of the Holocaust survivors to indicate they came to this country without the proper credentials. It is against the law to be in this country illegally. You took an oath of office. Are you going to keep it? Thank you.
My name is Amy Hawansky. I go by Amy the Activist on Facebook. I used to work for Cornell Cooperative Extension of Schenectady County, which is located at the top of the hill over by Union. I was the community gardening coordinator. It was my job to provide garden plots to city residents so they could grow their own food. Many of the gardeners were immigrants. Many of the gardeners were from Afghanistan. I had never met anyone from Afghanistan before. The men I met did not speak English, but I was able to observe their gardening techniques and learn from them without having to speak English with them. You can imagine that the men were used to trying to grow food in a very dry environment. To make the best use of their water resources, they had developed a system of irrigation with mini trenches, little miniature trenches. They would dig shallow trenches about 10 inches deep. Then they planted tomato and pepper seedlings into the walls of the trenches, not down into the bottom of the trench. Next, they placed the hose at the top of the trench so that the water flowed continuously from trench to trench, soaking into the walls and reaching the roots of the seedlings. I thought this was a great technique, so I used it myself in my own garden plot. Months later, my boss visited the gardens and saw my plot and saw the plots of the Afghani men. My boss said, "Well, looks like you learned something from those men, didn't you?" Yes. Yes, I did. I, the gardening expert, learned a new method from an immigrant. Can't we all learn from our immigrant friends? Can't we all? Yes. I urge to make Schenectady a sanctuary city? Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
So, a couple things. Hey, everybody. As mentioned, Albany, that money has nothing to do with Sanctuary City. And as a matter of fact, New York State gave them the $12.5 million that they needed for their budget, so they're all good. In addition, just thinking about the New York State budget, because I do want to mention this briefly, there were a number of individuals in Schenectady, the city and the county, that lobbied hard at the state level to ensure that we received the foundation aid that we needed for our public schools. Our public schools that happen to be predominantly black and brown, some of them are immigrant children, and we, because of our efforts and the lobbying that we did, we see that the foundation aid is more than $700 million in an increase this year, which includes $529,525 increase for the city of Schenectady. So that's the kind of work that we do. We fight hard for those that are in need, including the children of our city, and we expect that our city government would do the same. Couple points. The negative stereotypes around people of color, calling them criminals and violent offenders, seems to be something that people continue to mention, and that's just wrong, because actually when we look at the story of immigrants and committing crimes, we look at the statistics, it shows that the lowest percentage inside our prison system actually is immigrants. So they're not the ones that are committing crimes and doing all these bad things as others would like us to believe. The other point being that we continue to have these dog whistle politics. It used to be that you could talk about slavery, that was fine, and then you couldn't talk about it anymore. So we talked about segregation and Jim Crow, and that was fine, but really we were still talking about racism. And we talked about mass incarceration, that's really still talking about racism. And now we're using immigration to talk about racism, because it's not all immigrants that are being targeted. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again, because the refugees and Muslims and immigrants that are being targeted every single day happen to be people of color. They're not just every immigrant. So when we talk about being a sanctuary city, this is talking about security and protection, dignity and respect for all individuals that happen to live in the city of Schenectady. That's regardless of their zip code, their race, their religion, their country of origin, or their immigration status. And making sure that every individual in the city of Schenectady, citizens, documented and undocumented alike, recognize that their humanity is of importance to our government, that they are protected as humans and will not be treated differently for any other reason. That standing in the city of Schenectady, being a resident here, regardless of the color of your skin, is not going to determine how you are treated. So being a sanctuary city, one last time, is not just about the immigrants, but it does include immigrants. It's not just about Muslims, but it does include Muslims. But it's all people of all races having dignity and respect, equity and justice in all of their lives. Thank you.
Meeting for April 24th of 2017 is about to begin. How do you think this meeting is going to go, and what things do you think are going to be discussed?
Well, I found out a couple things prior to the meeting today. Last week was the committee meeting where they shot down the idea of making this a sanctuary city, and I'm glad about that, even though they didn't want to, lose the federal funding, but I'm glad they shot that down, because bad as the city is, it wouldn't have made it worse for me, a sanctuary city.
Yes.
So they shot that down. So what they're going to talk about today, bring up, is the idea of immigration reform. Now I'm going to speak on that and just mention about safety, because not only are you talking about Sanctuary City immigration reform, or the hot topic button issues that's been happening in the last 10 to 20 years, that safety, all around safety, law enforcement, businesses, schools, what have you. But they're also going to do 2 public hearings. One of them, I guess, has been, the other one is over by the sawmill here on North J. They're going to name it after the guy that owned it. And I think
John Birch, yes.
And I think that one's good, because from what I understand, Mr. Birch, he was a prime example of what we should do, no matter what people feel about the disease of liberalism and the symptoms like the illness, political correctness. But he was a fine example of what we should do to our fellow man.
Yes.
You know, look out for him. You know, look out for less fortunate. Help him out any way we can. Where he, from what I understand, every Sunday at his tavern there, he had a free buffet for the community and the people there in the neighborhood. That's a fun example of what we should be doing.
Yeah.
And even when the toy run, when the Toys for Tots from the Marine Corps, and I believe the Marine Corps appreciated what he did for them with that.
Okay.
Schenectady should be committed to protecting and supporting its refugee and immigrant communities, as well as delivering non-discriminatory services to all residents, especially marginalized groups. Schenectady must ensure protection and support for everyone, regardless of their zip code, race, religion, or immigration status, through actual practices, policies, and laws put in place for that purpose. Which means a resolution is a nice gesture, but it doesn't actually create a safe environment. Today, the mayor of Albany actually signed in an executive order that calls to community policing and immigrant protection specifically. And that's in addition to the council at the beginning of the year passing a resolution that addresses protection for immigrants, people of color, those who are have disabilities, the LGBTQ community. Like, it's completely comprehensive. But the some of our city council members have said, well, the mayor of Albany signed on to the mayor's council of mayors conference, something. It's a piece of legislation, it's a resolution that mayors across the country have said the federal government should have comprehensive immigration law. We agree. The federal government should have comprehensive immigration reform that is about protecting people and not about persecuting or isolating or discriminating against them. But that's not the only thing that they should do. So that's really the biggest part of tonight, is making sure that the city council hears as many people as possible, even if it's just some people were nervous and just standing up and say, I support us being a sanctuary city. Because it's a very broad term that allows for interpretation, and some people are uncomfortable with saying lots of words, but just showing that you're standing in support is absolutely enough. So
community of the Capital District is a community of interfaith outreach and volunteer spirit, expressed through the work of the Muslim Soup Kitchen Project, MSKP. And whereas since 2003, MSKP has been achieving their mission to create unity through serving humanity by providing monthly meals at area shelters and other venues, holding community donation drives for items such as fresh food, clothing, toiletries, and toys, and distributing fresh meat to needy families in the Capital District. And whereas MSKP seeks to provide a mechanism by which the local Muslim community can connect and serve the larger community of the Capital District by supporting a largely non-Muslim clientele and partnering with people of all faiths, backgrounds, and communities. And whereas April 2017 marks MSKP's second annual National Muslim Soup Kitchen Day, where volunteers from across the country will unite to make sure that no one in their communities go hungry. Now, therefore, be it resolved that April 29, 2017 is proclaimed National Muslim Soup Kitchen Day in the city of Schenectady, and the city thanks MSKP for the dedication to the community and people in need.
A resolution recognizing the Union College hockey team for winning the 5th annual Mayor's Cup. Whereas Union College men's hockey team has a tradition of excellence, and whereas an exciting and historic rivalry exists between Union College Dutchmen and the Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute engineers, and whereas the rivalry has a following throughout the Capital Region, which led to the creation of the Mayor's Cup in 2013, and whereas the Dutchmen were able to return the cup to the city of Schenectady with a victory over RPI on January 19, 2017. And whereas Union was tied with RPI with goals by first-year Luke Brown and Anthony Rinaldi, but achieved a 3-2 overtime victory with sophomore Cole Mayer scoring the winning goal 33 seconds into overtime. Was very, very exciting. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor, Gary R. McCarthy, and the city council do hereby pause in their deliberations to recognize the Union College men's hockey team as the winners of the 5th annual Mayor's Cup and as continuing source of pride to the city of Schenectady.
All those in favor? Aye.
I am Eric McDowell from the Union College Athletic Department with my assistant Dane St. Jacques, and I want to introduce our star student athletes, and I say student athletes as well. Okay. We have Ryan Scarfo and our captain for next year and our hero of the Mayor's Cup game, Cole Mayer. Case downstairs, it's been very lonely, so it's now going to have the company that it richly deserves. And after being on loan, it is back where it belongs. We thank our city council members who joined us on the ice this year. We look forward to Mayor McCarthy joining us on the ice next year as our captain and his teammates to make sure the cup comes back home. And finally, Mayor McCarthy and to the city council members, thank you for the remarkable job you do in serving all of us in this fair city. Thank you.
It's also proper that we should honor Don Birch, the owner of Sawmill Tavern, because from what I understand, he is the exemplary example of how we should treat our fellow man. He went out of his way to help the less fortunate in the neighborhood. He went out of his way every Sunday to have a free buffet here for the neighborhood. And also, when the Marines did their Toy for Tots run, Toy for Tots did a Christmas run. It's all pretty proper that we should do this because, like I said, he's an example of how we should, every day in our lives, help a fellow man.
Thank you.
He was a great man, out there as well. He was a really dear friend of mine. I really hope this works, because I want to be the first person you to take it on top of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to sign up. My name is Nicholas Barber. I live in the city of Schenectady. And just briefly, I wanted to thank the city, the mayor, president of council, honorable council members for consideration of this this resolution. Don Birch was a friend of mine for over 30 years. I dealt with him as the county director of real property tax services when he ran the CT Nova Bus Company Corporation, and he brought the buses down from Canada to the Hillside Park complex. He was an amazing person. Every time I saw him do something in a benevolent way, I was just astounded. I mean, he dug in his own pocket for over 35 years to help anyone in need. I mean, he really dug sometimes until it hurt. But he set an example. Talk about pay it forward. He was probably one of the founders of that. And as I saw him do it over and over again, I always asked myself, why does he do it to this extent so much? You know, put so much out on his own. And I asked him a question one day, and he said, well, it's because of my mother. He was brought up by a single parent. He says, my mother taught me to always help others in need if I could without hurting myself. And he took it literally, and he took it to the limit. Don was an example of a citizen that added to economic development in the community. He was an amazing mechanic. He worked on the Kenny Rogers tour buses. He managed those projects down south before he came back up here. He was a manager of CT Nova Bus Corporation. And also he worked at Super Steel as a manager there. And I think one of the saddest days of his life was not because he lost the job when they left, it wasn't because of his performance, but because his income was cut, he couldn't do what he did for all those years anymore. The free food and, you know, the benevolent acts that he did. But he did continue on Christmas and Easter to put out food. And anytime anyone in need, when they were at their lowest point, regardless of who it was, he would help out. So he's an example that we'd like to follow. So when you do this street renaming, we will look up at that sign. Those are the kind of things I think that we want to think about. His benevolence and how he helped the community, Little Italy, anytime they needed it, business people, he worked with government. We want to think of Don Birch, and hopefully we can act in the same manner that he did. Thank you very much for your consideration of the resolution.
A fair and welcoming city of Schenectady. Anyone who is not born in the United States is an alien. That means the rest of the world. Do Schenectady's decision makers intend to welcome the whole world to the city? Where is the room for them? Entrance to this country is no different than applying for admission to an Ivy League school. There are a limited number of seats available. When the seats are filled, enrollment to the school is closed. America's quota system works the same way. When the quota numbers are exhausted, entrance into this country is denied to others. Contrary to tonight's resolution, which reads, America is a nation for legal immigrants. Anyone who says otherwise is making up stories. The most important word was left out of the resolution, and the word is legal. Many people entered this country with temporary student visas. They never returned to their native lands. Others were stowaways. They jumped ship and hid in American communities. Human traffickers are well paid to truck the undocumented across the desert. And Schenectady welcomes all. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Are the outsiders now making laws for the United States? What is wrong with the quota system? What is wrong with official asylum? What's wrong with laws that maintain order? Tonight's resolution also states adhering to strong privacy protection. You all swore to uphold the Constitution. Do you know that the word privacy does not appear in the original document?
Please summarize.
It was not in the Founding Fathers' lexicon. It was improper for a gentleman to go off by himself unless in prayer. The word was used to validate the abortion issue. I have been coming to these city council meetings for the last 38 years. I am thrilled to see all these people in this chamber, but I wish it was for another agenda.
Thank you.
My name is Ellie Pepper, and I live in Schenectady. To my great disappointment, this council has failed to pass a resolution that addresses any of the concerns repeatedly brought before you by a number of concerned residents. In discussion at the committee meeting last week, several council members disagreed with including, whereas the city of Schenectady is committed to protecting the civil and human rights of all individuals with the city, regardless of their zip code, race, religion, or immigration status, to the resolution because undocumented immigrants are breaking the law. First of all, aren't we a nation that believes everyone is entitled to basic civil and human rights no matter what? Secondly, immigration status is a civil matter, not a criminal matter. Many immigrants enter the country legally every day on valid work or travel visas and end up overstaying for a variety of reasons. But that is not a violation of federal criminal law. It's a civil violation that gets handled in immigration court proceedings. Federal immigration laws are principally enforced through civil proceedings administered by the Department of Homeland Security and should not be carried out by our local law enforcement officers. I know it's been said over and over that our police department is not asking about immigration status. Make it part of the resolution and make it part of the public document. Thank you.
So my name is Jamaica Miles, and as a reminder, I was born and raised in the city of Schenectady. I've lived here my entire life. I'm never leaving. I say that proudly because I believe that Schenectady made me, with all the good, the bad, and the indifferent. I am here, I am the person I am today because of the schools, the neighborhoods, the people that I'm associated with, and the experiences that I've had. When the conversation happened last week about what type of resolution should be passed and the need for comprehensive immigration reform became the dominant theme, I was sad, I was frustrated, I was angry, I was disappointed. Yes, we do need comprehensive immigration reform, there's no question about that. The federal government right now is failing us and failing all of our states and our residents and our citizens and our immigrants in their efforts by not addressing the issue. But it is not just on them to protect our residents. Saying that we don't need to talk about something or that we don't have a problem in this city doesn't mean that it's true. Putting all the responsibility on the federal government makes me wonder, then why do we have a city government? Because we have residents in the city, because there's a division of power between the city, the state, and the federal government. And each has responsibilities to the residents that live in this country, that work in this country. And just very quickly to point out that in 1910, the US Census said that Schenectady was home to hundreds of thousands of alien immigrants, often in the US for years. And their primary or only language was often Italian or Polish. And they worked for GE and Alco, and they were here, and they were protected, and they had job security, and they lived their lives. So why would we now say it's the federal government's responsibility and not take responsibility ourselves? Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I'm Joy House, Schenectady. I say we need the sanctuary in Schenectady, but we also need to look at certain people who help and work on immigration in Schenectady and name a street or something after that person. Princess, she worked hard trying to get things going. Got it going, got it passed. We need to keep the town sanctuary all the way. They need to name a street, anything after her, because she did a whole lot, working over the years and put a lot of time in. And I want the sanctuary town all the way.
Hello, I'm Sean Bell from Schenectady, New York. I'm here today as an observer from my life walk from my eyes only, and I came to share some ideas to share my ideas to others for them to share my idea. Correction. Start over again. I am an observer. My walk's life is to share my ideas to others for them to share my ideas to other people. Okay, I'm just going to get away from that. All right. I'm here to talk to you as an advocate of Schenectady Community College. I had a disability that I just dissed myself, but okay. But I shared my ideas, and I learned from my disability, and I graduated from it. And that's what helped me become an advocate, that became a public speaker. And I think the more you get nervous, the more you make mistakes, the more it comes from your heart. So I wanted to share something. I also shared at the governor's office in the Capitol, they had Autism Week with Angela Santa Barbara, and they had a whole committee of different professionals from different groups. And I shared this idea, and I was inspired by all of them and all different companies to share it with you guys here. I also shared it in Albany too. And that is Anthony Scarato's idea of him talking about crime. And yes, we're disturbed by very bad stories. Don't worry, I already got permission. This is part of my story. This is for the hype. Just joking. The purpose I want to say is a lot of cops are here to convict, to observe, report, deter, and they're not educated in how to learn how a person reacts. Angela Santa Barbara has also came up with ideas along with a local police department, and that was to have a person's whereabouts. If they can't find where they are, they have a card that describes where they need to be. My idea is to go beyond that, and it's really hard to explain that without invading their privacy or invading, because they learn different from us and to be accidentally stereotyped. And that ain't my goal. My goal is to add on to that card so they know how to approach them, so they know that they can observe and the police officers can be educated and be understood how to treat people. Because sometimes key phrases bring key flashbacks, wrong wording, wrong tone of voice can get an accidental result. And that's what I believe I shared my point. Thank you.
Thank you.
I applaud and congratulate this council for shooting down the idea of Sanctuary City. So I know you guys didn't want to include federal funding. So I congratulate that. And I also congratulate Mr. Closter for mentioning the Constitution and federal law with that. Now, unlike my fellow residents here, who keep harping on the idea of Sanctuary City and what happens with it. I also know you brought up the idea of immigration reform. There's one key factor, if you will, that goes with it. Other hot button issues and topics today. That is the key factor of safety. Now, what I mean by safety is this. How does law enforcement do the job? Besides the issue of what people have with law enforcement, whether it be the sheriff, police, what have you, any type of law enforcement. I know a lot of people have issues with that. But how is law enforcement going to do the job? As in, what the Constitution says you can and cannot do, besides violating the basic rights of human beings with law enforcement. The other is, with these issues, sanctuary cities, what have you, we have a lot of unrest. Now, I understand people are upset they're going to have to go on the street. When they do the arrest, they riot. They have total chaos in the anarchy. They destroy public and private businesses. How are the people, the only businesses get looted and destroyed, supposed to recoup? And how is the law supposed to protect the civilian population from this unrest? Okay, you got that issue with safety. The last one, important one I brought up last time, was about the schools. Now, where did I get that information? Judge Pirro, when she was talking about this, she was talking to a sheriff from Massachusetts and a mayor from Lynn, Massachusetts, dealing with immigration. The issue was the schools here in Maryland, where an undocumented person, 14 years old, went to school there, went to the top of 3rd grade education, got raped in school, in the restroom school. Now, we have this problem here with schools, here bullying, what have you, schools, place of higher learning, situations, bullying, what have you, people getting raped in the schools, bathroom. How are we supposed to keep safety for the faculty and students there in schools and public and place of higher learning? Key issue of safety. It's still the safety issue here with whether it be Sanctuary City, immigration reform, what have you. Key issue is of safety all around. Law enforcement, the businesses, schools, and place of higher learning. Safety. Key issue, safety. Unlike what these people are saying, they don't mind about the key issue of safety. They want to talk about dignity and respect. They don't even respect themselves, let alone their fellow citizens. You want to hide behind the Constitution? Read the Constitution. Read what it says. Thank you.
Thank you. We're not going away. We don't feel heard. And I feel that this has been such an educational experience for me. I mean, previously I voted for you all because you were Democrats. I did not know who you were. Now I know who you are, and I feel like we're waking up a little bit, and I'm very disappointed. We have come for months and heard us speak, and I felt ignored, and I think others have as well. And I want to thank Ms. Carasso, Ms. Porterfield, for your comments tonight. That is like the light in the darkness. While maybe this was a transparent process, it felt opaque to me. It felt like there were a few people off to the side, deciding how things were going to be, and then kind of pushing their agenda and not having conversation, which is extremely disappointing. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again, it's time for us to start getting to work on some campaigns. With all due respect, I totally appreciate your very good work. I know it's extremely complex, but I feel that we can definitely do better. Thank you.
I did want to share the executive order from Mayor Shan for the City of Albany Policing regarding community policing and protection of immigrants, as well as the City of Albany's stances on human rights, immigration status, and the environment in light of recent divisive and destructive rhetoric espoused in the 2016 presidential campaign. So a copy for you guys to have for yourselves in case you haven't already seen it. That does include language that is completely inclusive. It's not just about immigration. It also talks about climate change is real. It talks about making sure that all individuals, regardless if they are immigrants or have disabilities, that they feel safe and protected. Additionally, here are a minimum of 70 signatures. Here you go. Of individuals. Some of them were here tonight, but many of them were not. So there's 70 more individuals that said Schenectady should be a sanctuary city, or call it something else, welcoming and affirming, whatever have you, and make sure that all residents are feeling as if they are safe. On April 11th, the Martin Luther King Jr., wow, that just went away, that's not fair. We'll just go from it. So we dedicated a street in the name of Martin Luther King Jr., and many, if not all of you, stood there and stood next to that sign and said, yes, this is the right thing. This is a man that we need to look up to. We dedicate ourselves to his legacy. It's worthy of us to name a street, to have that recognition. What would Martin Luther King Jr. say about us not standing up and offering sanctuary to all? Would he be standing on the side saying, no, we have no reason to stand up and say that all people are protected and safe and deserve dignity and respect? Or would he be standing on the side going, what are you talking about? Why should we be talking about racial injustice? Why should we talk about the segregation that still exists? Why should we talk about the fact that the federal government is targeting immigrants? If you stood next to a sign of a man who fought his entire life and literally gave his life for civil justice, for human rights, and to be against the racial segregation that still existed while he lived, then how could you stand today or sit in this room and not feel as if there's a point to even make any mention of this city being a safe haven for the residents who live here, those who are immigrants, those who are Black or Muslim or Jewish, those who have disabilities? How could you sit here today, but you stood next to that man's sign just a few weeks ago? That's all.
For your time. Many of us here today are wondering why the Democratic-dominated Schenectady City Council would adopt a resolution on immigration drafted by an Orlando mayor with language straight out of the Republican platform. Why ignore the voices of your constituents? Why turn back on the city's most vulnerable residents? The reasons I heard last Monday, we took an oath to uphold the Constitution. We need to obey the laws of the land. Well, these comments just lead me to the question that I have occasion to ask my students: have you done the reading? First of all, have you read Councilperson Porterfield's proposed resolution, where she specifically states that the city will not violate state or federal laws? Have you read that? If you had, you would know that. Have you read Eric Schneiderman's guidelines on sanctuary cities? If you had read it, you would know on page 2 that the Supreme Court ruled in 2012, as a general rule, it is not a crime for a removable alien to remain president in the United States. And most importantly, have you read this document, the Constitution? Because if you'd read the Constitution, you'd probably understand better the meaning of that oath that you swore to before you took office. Taking an oath to abide by the Constitution does not mean that you have to blindly follow in lockstep the marching orders of the executive branch of the national government. In fact, sometimes it means just the opposite. Because you know who else took an oath to uphold the Constitution? President Trump. And judged by the fact that he has already had 2 executive orders outlining travel bans overturned as unconstitutional in less than 100 days, I'd say he has a pretty poor understanding of the Constitution. Jeff Sessions' threatened actions to withhold funds from sanctuary cities and counties would also likely be deemed unconstitutional. Also in 2012, the Supreme Court ruled that the national government cannot coerce state and local governments into aiding in the enforcement of federal laws by withholding grant money. This, the court held, violates the 10th Amendment, violates Article 4, and the general principles of federalism expressed in the Constitution. All of this makes me wonder, can I trust you to do your homework before making decisions on behalf of the city? Some politicians see the Democratic Party as simply a vehicle for personal gain without any sense of who or what the party should stand for. But today's voting Democrat is going to hold its politicians and office holders accountable. And if you are more concerned with what the local party can do for your political career than you are with what you as a public servant can do for your community, then we don't want you on city council or holding any other public office.